Good evening. We'd like to call to order the September 3rd, 2024 Little Rock City Board of Directors meeting. We would like to welcome those that are in attendance as well as watching online. Madam Clerk, if you would, please call the roll.
Director Miller. Here. Director Richardson. Director Peck. Here. Director Hines. Present. Director Lewis. Here. Director Wyrick. Director Campiris. Director Phillips.
Present.
Director Adcock. Vice Mayor Webb. Mayor Scott.
Present. Let me recognize the city attorney to give an invocation.
Please join me. We have heard of needless destruction because people that were talking seem to be more concerned about their positions than about their interest. A young American died in captivity in Palestine just days before he would have been freed. And we learned that the leaders of the various groups that are trying to find a ceasefire and to find a way to release any of the other hostages have evidently let political interest get in the way of human interest. The nation mourns. The family mourns. But we all, as part of mankind, should mourn. The government that meets tonight does not have the authority over world opinion, but it does have the authority over the people that are represented by the ones that they elected to take care of the interest of the city. Let it be sure that any decisions made tonight are purely because each individual director considered the interests of the city over any position that any party took, so that we are a government and not just a body in power. Amen.
Please stand for the joint pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll now have a brief presentation on the Carousel Centennial Celebration from Director Susan Altrui.
Thank you, Mayor.
Happy belated birthday.
Oh, well, thank you, Mayor. Appreciate that. Thank you, Mayor, for the acknowledgement, Vice Mayor, directors. We are very excited about the centennial celebration of the Over the Jumps Carousel. This is sponsored by Centennial Bank, appropriately. And we're here to just give you a very brief summary about this celebration that you are invited to on September the 10th. Just a real quick overview about the spectacular Over the Jumps Carousel. It was built by Spillman Engineering in North Tonawanda, New York in 1924. It is one of only 4 carousels that was ever built by this company. And what makes it so unique is that it has an undulating track that the horses are attached to. Most carousels, you have the ponies that are attached to different poles, and those poles go up and down. But on our carousel, carousel, the horses are attached to a track that undulates up and down, kind of like a roller coaster, hence the terms over the jumps. It's what makes ours so much different than any other carousel that you see in the country. And we have the only one that is in operating condition in the entire world. It really makes it a true historic marker and something that is a true testament to historic preservation. It was once part of the Arkansas State Fair. It was purchased by Tom Fusel in 1942, and it resided at War Memorial Park. It was added to the National Register of Historic Places in 1991, and then State Senator Mike Keinert, Governor Bill Clinton, and an organization called Friends of the Carousel helped to save that carousel. And I have with me this evening a very, very special individual, David Martinus, if you would please stand. David Martinus is the former chair of the Friends of the Carousel, which was a nonprofit organization that was largely responsible for saving the carousel. I wanted to give him just a quick round of applause. You know, we have true heroes in our community, and David is one of those heroes. The Friends of the Carousel and those volunteers spent decades and a lot of time committed to saving the carousel. And we want to thank him and the Friends of the Carousel for all of the time and effort they put into that. So thank you, David, for that. We really, truly appreciate that effort. It is because of David and their efforts that we have the carousel now at the Little Rock Zoo. And that volunteer effort is so important, and we really rely on that even now today. Also, too, expert restorer Becky Witzel led the restoration efforts that we now have for all the carousel horses, painstaking efforts to restore the carousel. She stripped anywhere from 30 to 40 coats of paint on those horses. You can imagine over time the amount of paint that was on those horses. She used chemical analysis to take those horses down to their original coat of paint and then restored all of the woodworkings on those carousel horses. But over time, since we've had the carousel at the Little Rock Zoo, a lot of wear and tear has come onto those horses. And so we've had to continue that restoration process. The Friends of the Carousel dedicated the carousel to the zoo in 2007, and we have had it in operation ever since. It is fully operational, but that carousel does experience a lot of wear and tear. And we continue that restoration today, and that preservation will be ongoing. And we've right now got Little Rock Repair Shop, and I have with me Mike from the Little Rock Repair Shop. If you would please stand, Mike. Mike and his team, Mike Crenshaw, I want to give him a round of applause as well, because his restoration efforts really keep the carousel turning. It's because of artists like Mike and the Little Rock Repair Shop that really keep the carousel looking pristine and keep it looking excellent. And he has a real true passion for what he does and for his artistry. We're so fortunate that we were able to find Mike and the Little Rock Repair Shop because they're doing such great work to restore the carousel. And you're going to see some of their efforts. These are some of the pictures of the before and after of the work of restoring the carousel. This is an example of the carousel horses before they go into being painted and what those horses look like. And then finally, some of what those carousel horses look like after. Just absolutely beautiful and spectacular. The work they do is just amazing, and we're so fortunate to have them. So the carousel celebration will be on September the 10th. We invite all of you out here to attend. Again, it is being sponsored by Centennial Bank, and we're very grateful for those partners in Centennial Bank. It's because of those corporate partners that we're able to do such great work by the carousel, and so we're very grateful for that partnership. And we invite all of you to attend. So please join us on September the 10th from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. as we dedicate the carousel for its 100th anniversary.
Thank you so much. Director Hines.
Yes, Mayor. I just got a quick question on the agenda before the consent agenda. I had a question on item 7. Were these cameras, because it says on our write-up, in various city facilities, are these going to be inside and outside on facilities? And where our firehouses are concerned, are they only going to be on the exterior?
I will, it's my understanding they're all based on the fitting of with the staff. They determine which one they were. I don't know exactly on the firehouses. I can get there, but I know staff did talk with them.
I think the concern from the firefighters is that since they reside there, privacy issues on inside
Then it's on the outside.
firehouse.
Yeah.
Okay,
Chief Hubbard went over that, so yeah,
okay,
it's not.
all right, thank you.
All right. Thank you for that clarity. Vice Mayor Webb?
Thank you, Mayor. I have a question on number 8. Do you want me to wait till they're read, or you can go ahead?
No, it's on consent, so.
Yeah.
You want it?
I mean, I'm glad we're getting the trucks because we all know how desperately we need them and the problems that we're having. And I saw that the money was from, it was not from solid waste, it was from another account. And could we get an explanation of where that money is coming from?
Sure, we have various contingency funds for emergencies, and that came from that particular fund. And then as well, same amount from any kind of leftover funds that we have. So we just, with that, we purchased 5. We also have some other leftover funds. For instance, we had a conversation on our budget that we may have some overrun in fuel, and so we're going to try to get 2 more in the next meeting.
Okay, so it was from an emergency fund.
I mean, you can call, I mean, it's not called emergency fund, but we're cobbling together funds to get it addressed. As you know, last week we had a garbage truck blow up.
Right.
Literally the day we came before, so as blow up went on fire, I should have said that. But actually, it's no longer in use, and so we're out of that. And so hopefully by the end of this month, we would have 7 coming online.
Okay, thank you.
But it does not say emergency fund, it's just cobbled together. I know the funds we're looking that'll come before you'll be coming from fuel. And again, these are one time, and so we can't always bank on that.
You said 7 by the end of the month?
This 2 million will purchase 5, and we're working to get you another 2 before the city board on September 7th. So it'll be a
for us
total,
to vote.
a total of 7,
Got it.
yeah. All right. Madam Clerk, if you'll read the consent agenda.
A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Wagner General Contractors, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $275,000 for the rehabilitation of Two Rivers Park and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Arkansas Public Safety Solutions / Motorola Avigilon for the purpose of installing a video camera system and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a master service agreement with the Arkansas Department of Transformation and Shared Services Division of Information Services for various information technology services in an amount not to exceed $141,312 plus applicable taxes and fees and for other purposes. A resolution to amend Little Rock, Arkansas Resolution Number 15790, September 20th, 2022, to authorize the city manager to extend the 2024-2025 contract term with Enterprise FM Trust in an amount not to exceed $300,000 to lease 45 vehicles for the Little Rock Police Department and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Impact Management and Mitchell Williams, Seelig, Gates, and Woodard, PLLC, in an amount not to exceed $50,000 to provide governmental affairs and consulting services and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Burkhalter Technologies, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $91,494 for Valley Club repairs and for other purposes, funding from the 3/8 cent capital improvement sales tax and the limited tax general obligation capital improvement bonds. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Arkansas Public Safety Solutions Motorola Avigilon in an amount not to exceed $2,146,564 plus applicable taxes and fees to replace and install security cameras in various city facilities and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with River City Hydraulics, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $2,074,151.25 plus applicable taxes and fees for the purchase of 5 Battle Motor Hill Refuge trucks for the Public Works Department, Solid Waste Division, and for other purposes. That concludes the consent agenda.
Second.
There's a motion and second. Yes, Director Pierce?
Sorry.
No.
Oh. On a question on number 4, we're gonna lease 45 vehicles, correct?
Yes.
And what's the number of police vehicles we have now?
This is the third phase from when we did about 9 months ago, so it's probably a total of
So
200.
we're back up, we're the 150,
That's part of the third phase, so I think we did 100 the first time, this may be 40, so we may have 10 more, but this is the third time, I believe.
so when we get done with this, do we have the option of either renewing this or coming back or buying these 45 vehicles?
When we traditionally lease, we go back after a period of time and mileage.
We don't buy back?
It depends. I mean, I hate to say yes, because sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. His mic's on. Can you click it up? Oh, it's fine. We'll get that for you because it depends on the situation, but we know this first phase with the funding, it did 3, so we probably will have to come back for additional funding at a later time, but this handles the first, I believe, of 3 years, if my memory is correct. We're on a 3 to 5 year cycle on the vehicles. You're on.
My question is, can we find out at the end of this lease period, do we have the option of buying these cars back?
Yes,
So if we did that, then we'd have to come back and find the money to do it.
yes.
Okay.
And the same if we went back with lease, because it's still going to be a differential too. So either way, in 3 to 5 years, we'll have to come back.
Okay, thank you.
Director Peck?
Thank you. My question is in regards to item number 6, the Valley Club repairs. Do we have a timeline on this?
Not offhand, but we can get that to you.
The reason I'm asking is I'm sure most people know that there's a huge PGA tournament at Pleasant Valley, I think October 22nd, looking about 17,000 people coming into Ward 4 every day. Did you know about it, Sean?
No.
Is it going to be, that's my question. Is it going to be ready before October 22nd?
Yes, ma'am. This contract actually has a date certain 2 weeks before the tournament is to begin of having this work done.
That is very good news.
Yes, ma'am. That's why we got it on as quickly as we could.
Thank you. All right. I'll be on the call with you. Okay.
We
All right.
we tried to emphasize the importance of this work.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Webb? All right. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. We'll now go to citizens' communication. Mr. Mike Poe?
Yes, sir, Mayor Scott. I turned in 2 cards, one agenda specific and one not. Should I speak on both of them?
Yes.
They're sort of related.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you so much. I know that everybody here, especially all of you over here elected, you're here in our best interest. You respect us and you care about us as citizens. Just like I overheard him talking about, the fire department is concerned of whether or not these cameras will be in their private residence or in the state, area, the city area. We're all concerned about these cameras. Agenda number 7 or resolution number 7. I'm sorry, I'm not an attorney. I actually was accepted to law school back in the 2000s, but I declined because I couldn't deal with the red tape. So mad respect to all of you guys that have that education. But to speak on from the heart, I just care about our citizens and justice. I'm here because I care about justice. The 2 things I'm here to speak about is the fact that the Little Rock Police Department does not have a cold case detective right now. I did have a great cold case detective named Tommy Hudson. He went to North Little Rock, and he was taking care of my adult adopted autistic brother's murder case. Then I was seen by Detective Quattlebaum, which I appreciated, but I didn't fully trust that he was able to do his position. And since then, since he retired, he did not let me know. That was almost a year ago. There has not been another cold case detective. And so if you don't have a cold case detective, then you can't investigate. And if it's a cold case, you can't get a private detective without somebody to connect with on a cold case. So that's something we should look into. I really think that it matters to all of us, especially the people that are victims and survivors of homicide. From that, I can tell you that I've been in court before where surveillance was used in the case. And the same suspect, we'll say, the same suspect that the whole community believes murdered my brother, shot 2 more people at the Wright Community Market on 12th Street for asking for cannabis. When he asked for cannabis, they laughed at him, so he shot them both. We saw that footage in court, and he was really to receive nothing other than felon with a gun, because the 2 people couldn't speak themselves, and the surveillance wasn't enough. So what I'm saying is I don't really feel, just like the surveillance on the back of my house that has seen multiple people rob me, break my vehicle, steal things from my property. It doesn't do anything to help you when it comes to being inside court, when it comes to actually getting justice. And so I feel like there's some more important things that we could focus on instead of turning this to more of a surveillance state, which is something I would caution everybody against, agreeing that those cameras would be on your own property. You wouldn't want them on your property. I'm not committing crimes, but I don't want these cameras in or around my house. I've got one. It doesn't do me any good. It's not going to do me any good to have the government tap in. And it's kind of nefarious. And I think it's in the people's best interest to know that those things can be used against you by the corporate entities and the government entities that want to leverage you in some way or blackmail you in some way. And so you're not going to be able to speak as freely. And many authors, and I challenge you, if you want to look at some data, I won't just read his data, but the Harvard Review in May of 2013, Neil Richards spoke on the surveillance state and cautioned everybody more than a decade ago about this. And I just don't want our city to take that on. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Poe. William Neathan. Oh, it can only be one person. I'll bring you up. I'll just do this. Just gotta keep it order.
And City Board. My name is William Gerard. Ms. Huffman could not be here today and asked me to speak for her. People at the Ville on 65th need help relocating. Ms. Huffman is helping 2 families right now and needs your support for them. Help us to help them.
Thank you, Mr. William. Mr. Nathan? Nathan?
That was the villas on 65th that he was talking about. Again, I was just picking up for Ms. Huffman as well. She could not be here for medical reasons, but Ms. Huffman and ACO wanted to thank Virgil Miller for coming out to our housing town hall, which was last Tuesday. It was a really great event. We had almost 100 people show up to voice their concerns and demand immediate action on the housing crisis here in Central Arkansas. And ACO will keep having more meetings and push this issue until the city of Little Rock takes this crisis seriously, and we will invite all of you to join us in this fight for safe, affordable housing for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nathan. We'll now go to our grouped items. Madam Clerk, if you'll read.
An ordinance to amend Chapter 23, Article 5, Division 3, Section 23-115 and 23-120 of the Little Rock Revised Code of Ordinances to provide for a revision of the procedures concerning administrative review of certificates of appropriateness and for other purposes. An ordinance authorizing the construction of betterments and improvements to the water reclamation system of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, authorizing the issuance of a water reclamation system revenue bond series 2024B for the purpose of financing the cost thereof, providing for the payment of principal and interest on the bond, and prescribing other matters relating thereto and for other purposes. First reading.
There's a motion and second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, second reading.
An ordinance to amend Chapter 23, Article 4, Division 3, Section 23-115 and 23-120 of the Little Rock Revised Code of Ordinances to provide for a revision of the procedures concerning administrative review of certificates of appropriateness and for other purposes. An ordinance authorizing the construction of betterments and improvements to the water reclamation system of the City of Little Rock, Arkansas, authorizing the issuance of a water reclamation system revenue bond series 2024B for the purpose of financing the cost thereof, providing for the payment of the principal and interest on the bond, and prescribing other matters relating thereto and for other purposes. Second reading.
There's a motion and second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, third reading.
An ordinance to amend Chapter 23, Article 4, Division 3, Section 23-115 and 23-120 of the Little Rock Revised Code of Ordinances to provide for a revision of the procedures concerning administrative review of certificates of appropriateness and for other purposes. An ordinance authorizing the construction of betterments and improvements to the water reclamation system of the City of Little Rock, Arkansas, authorizing the issuance of a water reclamation system revenue bond series 2024B for the purpose of financing the cost thereof, providing for the payment of the principal and interest on the bond, and prescribing other matters relating thereto and for other purposes. Third and final reading.
Members of the board, we've had three readings. Director Miller, for the question. You click. Yes, sir. All right. See no questions. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Madam Clerk, if you would, please read item number 10. 11, I'm sorry, I apologize.
A resolution to rescind the Little Rock Planning Commission's action in approving a special use permit to allow a group home on the R2 zone property located at 2211 Westport Loop, Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes.
And just so I'm clear, Mr. Attorney, is this the one that had three readings already?
It's a resolution, Mayor.
All right, with that being said, before we go to the community, Director Hines and Director Phillips.
So, Mayor, just so we are, and Councilor from Tom, we are voting to affirm the rescission from the Little Rock Planning Commission, Tom? What?
You need to be voting to grant the special use permit. The Planning Commission may have had one vote, but this is one of those where, as I understand it, they have less than 8 people there, and the presumption is that it will be granted, or the city will be liable for a Fair Housing Act violation.
Tom, the reason I am concerned here is it's been brought to my attention that this particular residence is down to 250 to 300-foot private driveway. There's no allowance for turnaround for fire apparatus or that, and I think it's a life safety issue. And I'm not comfortable until I hear from our fire marshal that this is not a life safety issue on this property of voting in the affirmative on this or not.
That would be fine. It's curious as to how the house could have been built if they didn't have the two entrances for the fire department.
Because this is, my understanding is for a residential deal, this is basically being run as a commercial business
But even,
in a residential area.
no, it's being used for a residential use for people that have particular issues and that are protected as residences under the Fair Housing Act. But our, I'm understanding is our subdivisions have 2 entrances for firefighters at all times. It may not be an actual road in some cases, but they have that. But I'm not a firefighter. And I would defer to any that are here that are firefighters.
I mean, and what I look at is on these group homes, they tend to have a higher call out of public safety calls for fire, police, and ambulance. And that's my concern.
And the federal government's made it pretty clear that we're not to look at that.
So we can't look at a life safety issue where it comes
That's
to,
not what I said. a life safety issue is different. The idea that you have mentioned that it's not ingress and egress where emergency vehicles can meet it is something that has raised a concern in my mind, and I need to hear more about that. I have not heard that until just now.
Would it
But
be,
in terms of other calls to these particular homes, these homes are considered to be part of residences under the Fair Housing Act. And for example, if you've got people that have breathing difficulties and are on machines and the electricity goes out and you have emergency calls to that home, that can't be considered against them in terms of a group home.
would it be appropriate to defer this until we can get an answer from our fire marshal?
We can definitely defer. I do want to stress that most developments have to have a fire marshal to get it done. So, but we can get this moved.
I mean, I'm having a little, to
We'll just
channel my
defer.
inner director, a little cognitive dissonance that we're approving a special use permit to allow a group home to operate, but then in the same breath, we're not allowed to consider this as a different property, but although it does require a special use permit. And I brought up a life safety issue that getting,
Director Hines, we can definitely defer. I'm just sharing that many developments have to go through the fire marshal process to be developed, but we will have fire marshal here at the next meeting. Would you like for it to be deferred?
yes, I would make a motion to defer this to 2 weeks until we get an answer from the fire marshal.
That's a motion. Is there a second? All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. It'll be deferred for next 2 weeks.
And for the record, that is a proper deferral because life safety, ability to get in and get out is an issue that ought to be considered. It's one of the very few.
Thank you.
Director Phillips?
Thank you, Mayor. And this question's for Tom. I know we just deferred this, but just assuming the life safety issues, check the box. Those boxes are checked. We've all received emails about neighbors who are concerned about this project. If I'm hearing you correctly, counsel to us as a board is if we say no, we will open the city up to a lawsuit. Am I hearing you correctly?
Yes, what you have is an ordinance that says that 4 or less really doesn't need a permit. 4 to 8, and I mentioned in the last meeting, which might be 4 to 7 now, but 4 to 8 is presumed to be granted, and there's got to be a substantial reason not to grant it, or it will be deemed a violation of the Fair Housing Act.
Which would open the city up for a lawsuit for violating the Fair Housing Act.
Or for penalties and sanctions for violating the act, yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we were all clear on what the council was. Okay, thank you, Tom. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Director Phillips and Director Hines. Madam Clerk, if you would, please read item number 12.
An ordinance to reclassify property located in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes, first reading.
Second reading.
There's a motion. There's, for a second, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Second reading.
An ordinance to reclassify property located in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, second reading.
And the rules in place on third and final reading.
Second.
There's a motion second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Third reading.
An ordinance to reclassify property located in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, third and final reading.
Members of the board, we've had 3 readings. All those in favor, please say aye.
I have my light on.
Oh, I thought that was up from when you were doing your original motion.
No. Okay. On this item, staff has recommended denial. I would like to find out why. This is in a neighborhood. It has neighborhoods on every side of it. And I would like to know if that's the reason that staff is doing denial.
Thank you, Mayor, Board. Yes, ma'am, that was one of the reasons that staff, when we discussed it, recommended denial. I think from a overall zoning standpoint, the minimum lot size for C3 is 14,000, and this lot happens to be about 13.4 thousand.
Okay.
So it's a little under than what is allowed. And so
Okay,
that
thank
was.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
Nays have it. Madam Clerk, if you would, before we go to item 13, those who signed up for item 12, 11, we'll see you in 2 weeks. You'll be able to speak then once it's back from deferral. Madam Clerk, if you would, please read item number 13.
And we read it once at the last meeting, so I'll start on the second reading.
Start on second reading.
Yes, we read it once
All
last
right.
week, or 2 weeks ago. An ordinance to approve a plan and zoning development and to establish a planned commercial development titled Local Fairs Exchange and Storage, PCD, located on the south side of Baseline Road. Second reading.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Third reading.
An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and to establish a planned commercial development titled Local Fairs Exchange and Storage, PCD, located on the south side of Baseline Road. Third and final reading.
That's it.
We'll now hear from the community. Mr. Matt Nally.
Yes, Mayor. Thank y'all for the opportunity. We're here. I'm representing Richardson Engineering, and we are basically hoping that we have presented in all things that answered the council's questions regarding anything that the community has as far as any apprehension about this project. So I am here for technical advice or technical questions in regards to this particular project, to answer any questions that y'all may have regarding that, from an engineering standpoint, that is. So that was basically my role as for why I would be here. So if you have any questions, I would take those, or just understand that we're a representative here for that reason.
Thank you. Mr. John Hugler. Good to see you, Mr. Hugler.
Yeah, I'm getting around a little better now. I think this is a good idea. I think you ought to put it downtown, though. The food trucks downtown move to a lot out here by the freeway. Southwest, they don't move. They sit there all night long. They're open till 10 and 11 o'clock at night or later. Are they going to pack them up and go pay for a place to park and then put them back out the next morning? I kind of doubt that. I think they'll sit right where they are. He's wanting to put a sewer drop in for them, electricity and water. Doesn't that kind of make this a trailer park instead of a storage facility? He wants to put a kitchen in that's going to be open 24/7 to cook. We got a large homeless population. This place will have to be locked up like the city jail. The homeless out there, they just take what they want. They'll be digging through the dumpsters to eat. They set a big fire the other day. It took 3 pumper trucks to put the fire out in the woods. This is on the floodplain. This is right next to a creek. I mean, right next to it. His retention pond will have to be next to the creek. If this backs up and floods, it's going to unflood Interstate 30. There's going to be issues with that. And my last item is parking. Getting them off the street, off a baseline and into a locked facility. That gate's going to have to be back far enough to pull a truck and trailer or a food truck or anything in to get them off baseline. You can't park on baseline at night in that holly. You'll get rear-ended for sure. And the last is they'd like to sell alcohol. They are next door to a school and basically next door to a church. And I don't see that happening. All these issues need to be addressed before you approve it so that it happens. I've seen it in the past where it's not written in the paperwork and it just seems to fly under the radar. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Hugler. Director Adcock?
Mayor, for 3 weeks, or 4 weeks, I have asked for these people to contact me to answer some questions. I have not been contacted. Baseline Road is a very busy road, This is too much right there. That location is right across just about from a U-Polit that has a lots of in and out traffic. It is next to a church and next to a school. It's just, I think, too much for that area. I don't think that we have addressed the food trucks. The rules that regulates our food trucks have not been okayed by this application, and I would like to see this decline until they can come back with a better application and address the problems with the food trucks and the traffic. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Director Phillips, and then we got one last card.
Thank you, Mayor. I think you got an accolade. Thank you, Mayor. Is it Mr. Dowley? Can you come back up?
Yes, sir.
And I have one question, but I do hear Mr. Hugler's concerns. What are your response to those concerns?
Regarding the food trucks, we have made an accommodation for the food trucks to create a district for them that is in accordance with whatever the ordinances that the city would require. Sewer, all of this is still up for engineering, and our engineering for this is flexible to meet whatever the standards of the city are. All right, therefore, we are prepared to engineer it in a way that suits the city. Typically, we can have it to where they will have a portable system that dumps into a grease trap that is on site. It doesn't have to have particular hookups for that. That requires that they still maintain a certain amount of portability with what they're doing. All of those things are on the table as far as, because we have submitted plans to engineering, but as I said, engineering is still up in the air as far as to what the specifics will be for that. All right. Regarding the distance from the church, it is 300 feet from the church where this would be in regards. So, and there is proposed fence between the church and this facility. This facility will mainly do just beer and wine. That is the intent. And that it is doing that in order to maintain a certain competitiveness with the other restaurants in the area that sell that as well. That's the reason for this. So that being said, regarding the entrances for this particular facility, there are two entrances. Both of them are prepared to have turn lanes in order to be able to create and alleviate certain traffic jams and flows. Several of them are accommodated on what would be the east side to accommodate large trucks, to be able to have all of the deliveries coming in an area where they are accommodated for that size. We've been in coordination with the Highway Department, Arkansas Highway Department, to ensure that we have met all of their standards in regards to what would be required for these entrances. All right, so we have been in communication with these things in order to try and basically alleviate some of the questions regarding that. We have answers for that.
And another thing that I had a question about, and I think Mr. Hugler brought up, the 24-hour kitchen. I think he expressed some concerns about that. What's your response to the 24-hour use of the kitchen?
Well, in regards to the business model, I will say this, I would defer to the owner for that. Regarding how the business is conducted, is really not as much of an engineering question as I would be prepared to. You see what I mean? Now, in regarding to the business model, we would be prepared to place fences. Now, in regards to a gate that comes onto the property, there will not be a particular gate as per se that has to be opened and closed for traffic to ingress and egress across the project. All right. That if there is a proposed gate, it will be at the time of closing, or it will be an automated gate, as he said, that with engineering standards would allow all traffic to be clear of Baseline Road before it was actually opened or closed. So those things would definitely be considerations that would be placed into the planning if those things were to happen. And if this model was a 24-hour facility, that would definitely be one of the things that would be placed in the engineering plans to accommodate the traffic and make sure it is safe.
So someone is here who can answer the question about the 24-hour use. Could you approach the mic? Please state your name first.
My name is Hob Chapin.
Okay. So there was a question about the need for a 24-hour kitchen. What's your response to that?
Yeah, the purpose of this kitchen is for entrepreneurial chefs to have a place to prepare their foods. They don't have their own brick and mortar at this time, and so it's sauce makers, bakers, caterers, even the food trucks. Anybody that doesn't have their own place to work would have an opportunity to come and prepare their foods here. We would have a marketplace that they could even show and advertise to sell some of their stuff. And so In terms of the hours that they would be working, a lot of them wake up early or stay up late to be able to prepare their items. When we were doing a lot of research for this up front, for the feasibility study, I got to travel around to several different cities, and the majority of these kind of kitchens do run 24 hours a day. There's only access given to people who are like tenants of the space, and so it wouldn't be something that's open to the public 24 hours a day. It would be open to the people that are in there preparing their food.
And they will have some security access to enter and exit?
They would.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have, Mayor. Director Peck?
Thank you. I have a question for Director Jordan. Brad,
Yes, ma'am.
I see that the staff recommends approval. Will you tell me why?
If I can, this has been quite a while coming, since this has gone to Planning Commission. But if I remember it correctly, when we were all sitting around, discussing our recommendation, it was just the development. I mean, it's just an empty lot now, so I wouldn't even say redevelopment. So the development of a space, and so at Southwest Little Rock, I think that it probably serves a purpose. We've heard some of the people discuss food trucks. So this would be a space that maybe some of those that would come, that are illegally parked, would come here and, join these gentlemen and be a part of their food court. So that's basically the reason that staff recommended approval.
Okay, thank you.
Director Wyatt?
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Jordan, can I ask you a question, please?
Yes, ma'am.
John brought up the deal that we had these food trucks in there, and do we have any place else in the city where we allow food trucks to stay 24/7 and have permanent hookups in quantities of 8 or 10 or whatever?
Yes, ma'am. There are places around the city that are food truck courts that have been approved over time. I believe even over closer to the interstate, close to 630, there's one that's a permanent food truck court. I believe Jamie discussed another one that there was always some issues with that he was talking about, but I remember him mentioning it. So those are two of them that I know.
Okay, so today, if you're a food truck, then doesn't the city go by and look at health permits and different things like that to make sure that those are accurate and correct?
Sure, and the health department would go around and check the,
So what kind of
status.
inspections does the city do on food trucks now?
I'm not really sure. I don't think that the city does much of any inspections inside the food truck itself. I think that's all health department stuff.
Okay, so this is a planned commercial development, and a lot of this sounds like it's kind of conceptual. There's some changes that we're talking about potentially could make in regards to the water and sewer and things like that. Should we not already know at this point how all that's going to be hooked up and what is required by the city?
That was not a part of their application, so I don't have an answer for that.
But my question is, should it not be? Should it not be something that we should already know in order for it to come to the board for approval?
I see your point. I mean, I don't know how to answer that. I understand where you're coming from.
Okay.
But having not done a lot of permanent food truck courts, I guess this is a learning.
Okay.
There's a learning curve involved here, ma'am.
It just seems to me that maybe we should know that. The other thing was, I had heard that the highway department did not require any special access to this location, but yet I'm hearing that there would be turn lanes into the development. Should we not know about that at this point with this planned commercial development? Or do we already know it and we're not going to have turn lanes, or we are going to have turn lanes?
Okay, well, I'll allow the engineering expert to
Okay.
answer any questions.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, for clarification, when I was referring to a turn lane, it was for the entrances and for our particular development. They will have
Inside the development?
inside the
Okay,
development.
and
They
I
will-
think Mr. John was talking about turn lanes on Baseline Road because of the speed, the number of cars, those kind of things going into your development and coming out of your development.
With our correspondence with the highway department, that was not a
That's what I
requirement.
thought, yeah.
Yes, under
That's
the-
what I remembered from visiting before. Okay, and I think the hours of operation were finally settled, and it's like 6 to 8:30 for the food court, yeah. And then it was also noted that you're going to provide a fence around the food court, and that was in conversation with the Little Rock Church. You agreed to do that, so that needs to be in the record, so that can happen. And I did receive a letter where the Little Rock Church is okay with the development now, so I appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
What about the detention pond, the water flow that Mr. Hugler was talking about?
Yes, regarding the detention pond, the area that, from the actual bank of the creek, we have a barrier there that is only encroaching upon the floodplain.
Right.
There are two divisions there. There is a floodway,
Uh-huh.
which is off limits, and there is the floodplain. We only are encroaching upon the floodplain itself, probably about 0.1 acres of that. And basically, it is on the fringe, and we are, as far as from the bank of the creek, I believe it's within 75 to 100 feet before it is the actual bank of the creek or to the creek.
Unless something's changed in the several weeks that I've been talking about this development, the city did not accept where your detention pond was going to be because it was in the floodway or floodplain. Have you moved it over where it is acceptable to the city now?
There is an area that it has been my understanding that the concern of the city was in order to ensure that we weren't impacting the floodplain. If they are displeased with this location, there is flexibility there with the grading plan in order to lengthen it and basically make it less narrow in order to probably accommodate it to satisfy the engineering if that is required.
I think unless somebody's changed that write-up, it did say that the detention pond that you proposed was not acceptable because of the location close to the floodway or floodplain. I don't remember which term that was. So nothing's changed on that, but that's something I guess Mr. Jordan can say that can be worked out once the development is in full progress. Okay, now, your intentions are to cut down all the trees around, on the whole acreage. I forgot how many acres there is now. Your intention is to cut down all those trees. Okay, and so when you do the detention, are you doing detention for the entire piece of property? Because you know what that will do for water flow through there.
Yes.
Okay.
The intention is that the detention area that is designed is to accommodate all of the additional coefficient water that will be produced by this project. Also, during construction phase, this pond itself will be probably over excavated some in order to create a sedimentary area for the runoff. And most of the runoff will be channeled to the pond itself.
Okay, it's almost 20 acres, right?
That is
Okay.
correct. The
Okay.
topography and as you can see, the topography goes towards the creek, so therefore, all of the water flows away from the church's area and basically lateral with Baseline Road. So our controls for the stormwater will be on the eastern side, the sediment pond, and the detention area will double for that, and we will have controls in place. Also, before it would actually exit our property into the creek, there will be about a 75-foot natural barrier there that will be provided for, that those trees will not be disturbed.
Okay. We kind of focused on the event center, the food court area in most of our conversations, but I'm aware that you're going to have two large buildings to the east of where the event center area is. And will you have additional detention just for that specific area, or is the detention you're talking about for the whole area?
The detention is designed for the entire area.
Okay.
Yes, all of the hardscape that is being presented on the plans is a project in itself, and the detention is for the entire project.
Okay, and so these are designed for storage units and/or businesses, office type use in those two buildings. Do we have hours of operations for those?
I would defer to the owner for that.
Okay.
And in order for that.
The unfortunate thing is he's really not had a chance to talk about his whole project. We've been focused on one particular area.
And I sent those to you in the email that I had presented to everybody. The oversized storage would have gate access, and that would be 24-hour gate access for the tenants that are renting that. And then if I remember right, I can't remember if it was 7 to 6 for the flex space.
Okay, okay. All right, 7 to 6 for that. Okay, thank you.
Director Pierce?
Thank you. Brad, let me ask you another question. And Tom, tell me, do we have a classification for food truck permanent siting?
No.
No, sir.
What?
No, sir.
So we're making a decision on doing something we don't have rules to govern. I was gonna vote for this when I read about it this
Right.
week. But the more questions I hear, what we're really doing is we're creating a strip mall with food trucks.
Yeah.
I'm not, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just wondering, do we have regulations, Tom, that governs that?
We have regulations that govern what food trucks are supposed to do and not do in terms of like parking down in the river market and never moving. But I don't think we have any regulations, and I don't know the Court of Ordinances that well, but I don't think we have anything in terms of finding a place. I know that we have complaints because there are food trucks which are like supposed to be off the street and they stay on the street. And we've had complaints where they're not supposed to be parked in certain areas and they're parked in those areas. But I don't think we've actually looked at the question of, can we create a food truck corral type of thing?
Well, that's my problem. I mean, you're asking us, and again, I was gonna vote for this, to vote affirmatively on something that I don't understand, that we don't have any regulations to govern. So if we don't have any regulations to govern it, if there's a problem, how do we go back and say they didn't do it right? I'm just.
Yes, sir. To answer your question, is there a special zone for this? There's no, to Tom's point, there's no specific zoning for just food trucks. But usually the way I understand it, the way the permanent food truck courts are, and in a lot of places across the city, they're in planned developments. So you basically say, I want to have a food truck court, it's going to be permanent. Here's my plan, just as these gentlemen have done. So I think that this is reflective of all the food truck courts in the city or planned developments.
But we have that regulation.
The planned development regulation.
Planned commercial development's what he's saying.
Right, but we don't have one. We're not talking, planned commercial development, we're building something. We're saying, we're building a structure. Now, you may rent it and leave it and someone else come back in, but you're not, we're not building something, we're just parking trucks. And I'm just asking, how do you regulate that? I mean, how do you take care of that if something happens later on? I mean, if we don't have any rules you want us to vote to do something tonight, and then if there's a problem, we don't have any rules to govern it. Is that right, Tom? I hadn't thought about this until tonight, but it just bothers me that I'm gonna vote yes on something that I don't know how you take care of it.
Yeah, I think there's, we'll go to Director Hines, but members of the board, however you vote.
I
thought you were.
I want an answer to that question. I mean, that's the real issue for me is
It's just like.
how do you make that, how do you take care, how do we as a city, if there's a complaint to you, say you're not abiding by the rules if we don't have any rules to set it up with?
The concept of the plan development is that the zoning in place where the development wants to go really does not support that development. However, with the careful plans so that are not to be departed from, then it can fit within that area. And that's where the plan development comes in. The question I think you're asking is, we have 6 food trucks now. It works well. There's a licensed restaurant there where people fix the various things they sell from the 6 trucks, and that's all good. But let's go down the road 5 years from now, and the food trucks are no longer a popular thing. So we've got 2 food trucks there and 4 empty bays. Don't know the actual number. And now we want to put in video arcades in those things. And how do we do that? Well, the answer is you don't legally do it without coming in and amending the ordinance so you can show that that works and that still works in regards to the surrounding areas as a plan development. The irony here is that we've got probably a lot more information about what is going to happen once this is or is not approved, but than we do on a lot of things. A lot of times we're told this is where the restaurant's going to be and this is where the lights are going to be, and then the restaurant never develops, and now we got a planned development out there for somebody else to come along and develop for something else. This one seems to be pretty far down the road, but that doesn't mean that all your questions have been answered.
Well, and then I'll ask you a direct question. Do you feel like if something happens on this and we come back to you and Brad, that you can figure out how to take care of a problem in this situation? And that's the issue. I mean, improving it makes sense to me to have a place that if you're an entrepreneur, people make bread, go in at 2 a.m, make bread. I don't mind that. That's good. I have none of the problems. The storage areas are it sounds like are secure. The church says it's okay. I have a little trouble saying with the retention pond that we're going to figure it out after we do it. But if you think it's okay and we're not flooding that creek, then I'll go along with that. But I want to know how you're going to take care of this if there's a problem a year from now. And that's the real issue to me.
Yes, sir.
The one thing about the planning ordinance is that nothing gets done until the final plans are approved. So in terms of the detention pond issue, we know that our ground just isn't what it looks like at some places, and something might have to move from here to there, but it's going to be in place, so it is going to take care of the entire 20 acres. That we know. So where it's actually going to be located at the end is something that would have to be worked out with planning as a part of approval of the final plan. If it can't be worked out as a part of the final plan, then they'll never be able to operate what the ordinance says they can do without getting that resolved.
Well, I mean, and that my issue there is that we spent 6 months and a lot of money, putting in 2 pipes in a development where there was encroachment of water. I'm and that was well thought out supposedly, and then we spent a long time litigating and a lot of your time taking care of that.
Paid money for it.
And so, but you can't, they can't have final approval until you approve the retention.
That's correct. And it can't be in the floodplain, just on the record.
It's not, I'm not talking about whether it's in the floodplain or not, it's whether the detention pond holds enough water to make it work.
Right. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Director Hines.
Brad, stand up at the mic. So I'm just going to play a little bit of devil's advocate. I've always understood that a planned commercial development, planned zoning development was micro zoning. That was much more restrictive than any of our general use zonings that's allowed. If it's not an application, it's not allowed. If it's not in this planned zoning development, it's not allowed. Hours of business, businesses that can operate, everything's defined. Much more defined than, say, the underlying I-1 Industrial Park District. So, Industrial Park District, I imagine we could have a 24-hour chicken plant. We could have a 24-hour Amazon distribution center going there. We could have all kinds of way more intense uses on this 20 acres than what this development is proposed. Okay, I just want to clarify so we all understand. I have a much more comfortable deal in that if they wanted to change a use, say food trucks go out of fashion, they want to change, they've got to come back to us and change their planned zoning development.
That's correct.
Otherwise, we could cite them and bring them into environmental court for violation of their planned zoning development.
That's correct.
Okay, that's all I need to know. Thank you.
Director Phillips?
Thank you, and thank you, Director Hines, because that's exactly where I was trying to go. Director Jordan, just to put a bow on Director Hines, if you could approach the mic again. To Director Computer's question, the enforcement mechanism is the PCD that they have to adhere to, and they have to follow that. So there may not be a separate set of rules specific for food trucks in this situation, but if we need to enforce it, it's based on what's approved in the PCD, correct?
That is true, yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we was clear on that, and I think Director Hines did a fine job.
Yep.
But just wanted to tighten that up.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. That's all there.
Director Adcock?
I think some others was before me.
I got everyone. You're
Okay.
next.
Brad, have you looked at the ordinance on food trucks from the very beginning?
The
They-
food truck,
they-
the
they could not be,
canteen.
they could not stay overnight. They could not be plugged into electricity to a structure. There was lots of things. We have gone so far away from that, but we have never changed it. But if you look at the very beginning, they could not be hooked up to a city sewer, which these are going to be hooked up to a city sewer. These food trucks do not follow anything, if you look at the original ordinance, that has not been changed. If we're going to change and do all of this, we need to change the ordinance. Because we have told people for the last 10 years that you have to move a food truck at night. We've not made people move their food trucks at night. We have gone all the way to not doing what we set out to do. And if we're going to do something like this, I want us to go back to the beginning and change the ordinance. Thank you.
All right. Did Mr. Hobby chat? That was, okay, we didn't appropriately address your name, but you've already come before, so no need. We've had 3 readings, all the questions from members of the board. It has been 3 readings? Yes. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
Ayes have it. Madam Clerk, if you would, please read item number 14.
It's been read 3 times, Mayor. It was
Right,
read on the
Item number
August
14 has
20.
been read 3 times already. We'll
Mayor,
go-
item 14, it's been read. The parties gave us a list of changes that they have jointly agreed on. They signed those changes. I think that there was a little miscommunication, so we don't actually have the ordinance where those changes are being made sections to the ordinance yet, but we will have that tomorrow if y'all vote for it tonight.
What?
But they've got all the language, it just hadn't been given a section number.
And you said both parties have agreed?
Yes, and Mr. And he's here. Joe White is here, and he can say that, and the owner of the property also signed that last week on that point. And that's the copy that I've got.
Well, we'll first hear from the community. Mr. I guess. Ms. Irma Bailey?
She went to the restaurant.
Okay. Gail Long? On the way back in. Denise White? We're gonna get somebody. Oh, take care of yourself. See, that's why we gotta get that change. We gotta get rid of that.
Very impressive.
As a few city directors said, that was very impressive.
Thank you, Mary Butch. I'm a 66-year-old woman. My name is Denise.
Can you pull the mic for you?
My name is Denise White, and I am here tonight to tell you why I do not think you should vote for this facility to go in. I'm a resident of Pecan Lake subdivision. In the last year, we've seen a detox place come in. Now we want to bring heavy equipment facility in. So are we trying to do away with the neighborhoods? And we just gonna make this all industrial? And what happens to our properties? What happens to the value of our properties when we get ready to move somewhere else because everything around us is being industrialized? How do we sell our properties? I think that's gonna be, have a great impact on our homes and the values of our homes, because it's gonna be hard to convince someone else to come in and buy that property. And with the increased amount of traffic, the noise, I know they've said that, you know, there's gonna be a barrier of trees, but for the most part, trees lose their leaves in the fall. So the barrier is gone. You'll still hear what they're doing. They have a facility out on University. I wonder, have they looked out on University? University is a big industrial area with car lots and different businesses. Have you looked for property out there? Because there still is property out there for sale. Seems to me it would be more well-suited in that area than around neighborhoods. I would like that you guys really reconsider this. And the reason I say I'm worried about our property values, because I've been a mortgage loan officer, been in the mortgage business for 43 years. So I've seen neighborhoods deteriorate and lose value. And it's a great concern for not only our neighbors, but for myself. You know, I've bought my home and put a lot of money into it. And I hope to one day, you know, when I go to sell it, I can recoup some of that. So I ask that you reconsider letting this facility open up over there, because we don't want everything around us to be industrialized and we lose that emphasis of neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ms. Gail Long.
Good afternoon, Mayor Scott, and to the panel. My name is Gail Long, and I am the voice of Tall Timber. And I have a petition. If I present it to someone, or I hold on to it.
You can give it to the clerk.
Okay, once I walk away, I'll get it. Okay. And basically, this petition is just, and I'm piggybacking and just echoing what the lady has just stepped away, what she said. We don't want this in our neighborhood. And a lot of it could have been resolved beforehand, but it's like it was just thrown at us at once. And we were expected to be happy with it. And I know y'all remember we were here the last meeting, and the maps and things like that were incorrect. And we were told that there were notices given. We asked to see those notices and who received the notices. All those notices appeared to be businesses. They were not any residential people or homeowners. So we were in question, well, who received the notices? Because there's one lady, we had a meeting at the church a week or so ago, and she said, well, my home butts right up against where that's going to be, and no one notified me. And she said, I don't want it. And her name, I believe, is on this. The other question we had was there's going to be trees cut down. We already have flooding problems in our neighborhood. So once the earth and the ground gets to moving, where is the water? Where will it go? Because we're already facing a flooding problem there. Some of the questions have been answered, like at that meeting, but we felt like we were still not satisfied with what was going on. But it was asked, well, how many buildings will it be? How large will they be? What will be the hours of operation? We were told the hours of operation, I believe, was 7 to 5 or 4, something like that. And we wanted to know the lighting there. Would the lighting interfere? Will it shine far enough to cause a problem for our neighborhood? A lot of people work in the nighttime, so they're trying to sleep in the day. Would that affect them? The noise levels. What would the buildings be made of? Things like that. What would be the barriers for the noise barrier and things like that? But just to cut through all the chase, the neighborhood is uncomfortable with that being placed so close to us and wanted to know, is there not other land? Can they not find other land? And I know we were told that there were other businesses. They had another business in other parts. So had there been any complaints from those residents where their other businesses were? Okay, so I spoke about the earth erosion and the flooding. What would they do about that? Oh, and it was spoken, and I don't know if it was spoken prematurely or by mistake or miscommunication, because we've had very little communication with this project. It was spoke about apartments, that apartments would be, because it was so many acres of land that had been purchased. And I don't think that Riggs or Caterpillar would be taking up all of that land. So would there be apartments being built later in the future on that? And if so, what would happen after that? Because we don't want any more apartments close to our neighborhood. And what would be the property value? Would it drop, or would we lose value in our homes? I believe that was just the gist of everything. Bottom line, we really don't want it.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Irma Bailey?
Good evening, I'm Irma Bailey, and I'm in agreement with everything that has been said previously by the other homeowners. I've lived out there in Tall Timber for over 30 years, and that's my home. I'm getting older, as you can see, and my concern is the value of my property, like everybody else, if I had to move. There's another factor that's really troublesome for me, is the traffic. We have an enormous amount of traffic now, and it's terrible trying to get out of Tall Timber West in the evening and in the morning, and this is just going to add to the problem. I mean, it's really terrible now. My fear is that if there's an emergency, how do we get out and how do we get in? We only have one way in and one way out now at Tall Timber West, and now we're going to compound that with all this traffic and this big facility. It's just troubling to me. And as I said, I'm with the others. And then the problem of possible flooding. Flood insurance is really expensive. And if we're faced with them, the building and the soil and everything, and the possibility of flooding, then that's another area. If you've never paid flood insurance, I'm telling you, it's terrible. So I am troubled about everything about this facility. Everything about it troubles me. And I'm asking you to think seriously about this. What is going to happen to us homeowners out here in Tall Timber West?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. George Kress?
Mayor, the board, thank you for having us. Just want to maybe respond to the neighbors first and foremost, and give you the board members a background on Riggs Cat. So we're about to be a 100-year-old company founded on 3rd Street in Little Rock. This is a project. We've been on South University since 1959. This project is a machine and engine rebuild facility, where we take old tractors and old engines and we build them up. We tear them down and build them right back up. This is an expansion facility. It'll be roughly a 70,000 square foot building. We did acquire 40 acres, or we're in process of acquiring 40 acres from the church, from Antioch Missionary Baptist Church. We will be accessing the property from Stagecoach, from Shackelford Road, which is in a planned industrial district for the city. The neighbors who we met with on Monday, and first of all, I want to apologize for any trouble we are causing you right now. This is my first time doing this, so this has been a new experience for me, but I do hear your concerns, and I want to be a great partner to the community. I do believe Riggs Cat has been a great partner to the city of Little Rock and the state of Arkansas for a long time. We will continue with that reputation if we are approved to move to this location on Shackelford. As far as the facility goes, our estimate, the back of the facility will be at a minimum 1,000 feet through hardwood timber to tall timbers, or Pecan Lake, I believe. The Tall Timbers Road, to that neighborhood. It is one facility. There are no plans for apartments. We will be improving the road on our property lines on Shackelford. The lighting will be, I don't believe you'll be able to see it from the neighborhood. It will be pointed down at our facility for security purposes only. So we did meet at the church with about 50 individuals from the neighborhoods last week, and I hope I addressed all the questions to the best of my ability to try to resolve any issues. Obviously, that has not happened, but I do believe our plan that Mr. White's put together does not cause the problems that the neighbors believe will be an issue. We have 6 facilities across the state that are less than 1,000 feet from residential homes and neighborhoods, with our smallest gap being 135 feet. So we have had no complaints, and I'm sure you can check the record for that. So that is Riggs Cat. That is our plan. And any questions, please go ahead.
All right, Mr. Joe White. Yeah,
I wanted to get him
Yes,
to
ma'am.
do one more thing. Can you talk about the hours of work and the number of employees that you expect to be working at your location when it opens and then in the future?
Absolutely. So we typically work from 7 to 5. Those are the planned hours for this facility. We anticipate having between 40 and 50 employees when we start, and I don't see it getting larger than 75 if we are able to grow this sector of our business like we hope.
And there's no customers that come to this location?
Correct. This is not a customer-facing facility.
Okay.
Mr. White?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. Are we able to pull up any drawings? We had some exhibits that I sent. Zoning by chance? That'd be great. Thank you, Mayor. Let me just hit the high points. And, it was a good meeting that we had with the neighbors, and we heard their concerns. Sure. Can you hear me now? We heard their concerns, and it was an emotional meeting. I mean, I get it, because people's homes, that's their biggest investment. And I could hear the issues of the flooding and the detox center and the entrance as you drive into Tall Timber. It's not good. We can't solve those issues. If you look at this area and you look at Shackelford, up and down Shackelford is all industrial zoning. And to the east is an open space, and it breaks the residential neighbors to the east. So your industrial to the west, open space zoning, residential to the east. When we first went to staff, and we went to Director Wyrick, and we said, hey, this is what we're thinking about. And they looked at the plan and they said, well, you need to extend the open space, the 100-foot open space to the south. And we said, absolutely. And we agreed that all of our access for rigs would be west to Shackelford, no access to the east because we wanted to take care of the neighbors. Truth is, they didn't get notified because they're all more than 200 feet away. The only residential neighbor that got notified was Buddy Ellis, who has the event center just to the southeast, call it. Mr. Ellis's property truly is the best buffer we have. With his property R2 and totally wooded, the minimum distance of woods between us and the neighbors is 600 feet. And if you go to the southeast, it's about 1,000 feet. And so it really is a good plan. We're buffered well. I feel bad for the neighbors. I feel like I've gotten to know a few of them. I hear what they're telling us, and they're concerned about, again, Brody Creek is a big problem. Flooding, when we develop rigs, we'll have to provide stormwater detention that meets the ordinance. We will not increase the flooding. The flooding is not from this property. It is from Brody Creek, which is a large creek, and it exists today. And some of them have their houses in the floodway, and I know that's a problem for them, and we can't solve it. I feel bad for them, but we can't solve that problem. So, you know, it was really good after the meeting to get to talk to some of the neighbors one-on-one, because they really said, you know, we realize rigs is not the problem here. Our problems exist today. And I was grateful that we had 3 directors there to talk to them, and Director Phillips agreed to get together with them and talk to them and work through their problems, and I thought that was great, and wanted to thank you for coming to the meeting. We had 2 other directors, Director Wyrick and Director Adcock both came, and I think it just shows the neighbors that we care. We're not just going to steamroll them. We care about what's going on in their neighborhood. So, I mean, I'm a Little Rock guy. I grew up here, you know, from the 60s on. I've been here. So it bothers me when I see a part of Little Rock that's having problems like they are. And so, again, I've got cell numbers in my phone. They call me, trying to help one lady with her. She's got a structural problem, trying to find her a structural engineer. So we're not just going to steamroll them and walk away. I think they couldn't ask for a better partner and a better neighbor than Riggs. So one other thing, and it's a traffic thing, and I think this is really important. The traffic from Riggs will not only go west to Shackelford, but when they bring those machines in and out of their property, the facility, they're going to go north on Shackelford, turn left on Colonel Glenn, and hit the interstate. And they'll never come south or east towards the neighbors. And likewise, when they bring equipment in, they'll take the same route. And so there really is a separation between the industrial areas and the residential. So glad to answer any questions.
Director Computers, or your hand was, did you take down your hand, Director Computers?
Am I on?
You were on earlier. You got your hand back up? No, ma'am. Press it again.
I'm blue.
You
I'm
are.
red. On. Mr. White, a question was brought up about the apartments. And that is not a part of the Riggs development. Can you address that?
I can. You know, those apartments were built as part of the seminary way back before the property was ever annexed. In years, I don't know if it's 50, 60 years ago. And those apartments are just for the seminary students. And so when we came through with the application, staff said, we think you should rezone the existing apartments to MF12 because on the zoning map, they show R2, which we know they're not. So That's why we requested the MF-12 on just the apartments. But we're not asking to build more apartments. We're just asking to take the land where the apartments are and make it MF-12.
It's just to clean up the records to reflect it to be multifamily as opposed to residential.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It-
I think
if
that's
I
been
could,
some confusion for the neighborhood.
if I could say one more thing that I left out. The seminary, if you look on your map, it's the building that's kind of southeast, and it's just out of the orange shaded area. You know, at some point, the church is going to rezone and sell that, but today they don't have a buyer. And they didn't want to just guess as to what the zoning should be, but it's as important to the church what goes there as it is to the neighbors, because the church, which is on the south side of Rockwood, is not going anywhere. They're going to stay. And so they're very interested in the neighborhood and what's going on around them. When we had the meeting, they offered to host us at the church, which was great.
So what, this map is not as good as one that you had at the meeting, but can you talk about the development that is north of the Riggs proposal?
Yes, the property north of Riggs, let's see what we got here. Okay, yep. That's actually pretty good right there. Can you pull it down? Yes.
Okay,
Okay,
that's a good one.
good map right there. And I don't know if can you keep going?
Yeah, it
Pulling
needs
it
to go up.
down. So where you see the 36 acres, it's kind of bluish, whatever color that is, that's where Riggs is going. To the north, this is back in the early 2000s, we rezoned the property to the north. It was actually going to be Kaufman Lumber, and so we rezoned it to I-1. We kept the open space on the east, the 100-foot. It since has gone, it went to Budweiser, which we thought they were going to move there, and then they didn't. But now it's actually going to be a soccer complex. The Vogel family has given it to a soccer group that's going to develop a new soccer complex, which I think is great.
Okay, and can you tell us where where Riggs will be sited on this 36 acres? Were they not going to be to the west of the property?
Yes, ma'am, they are. They're going to really, if you look at the blue area that says 36 acres in the middle, they're going to be in the upper left, close to Shackelford. So there is going to be a lot of undeveloped property when we first start out that Riggs is going to own. They may expand in the future, but they'll never use that entire 36 acres. There will always be wooded areas, mostly south and east of their facility, which will further screen the neighbors.
Okay, and so we didn't get into this the other night, so I'm asking for the first time. What is going to happen to the building's going to be on the left, the western, I guess, northern section of the property? What happens to all the land that's around there? It's got trees now. Are the trees going to stay? Are you going to have asphalt there? What's that going to be like?
You know, and I might let Mr. Kress speak to this a little bit, but I
think that adds additional buffer to the neighborhoods is what I'm wondering about.
It does, and you know, when we first talked about the first building's going the upper left, I think if they did another building, it would go just east of it. There's property to the south that will probably never get cleared. It's a ridge with a draw that falls back to the seminary student housing, and so it's likely that a third of this property will never get cleared.
Okay. Okay, that's all the questions I had for you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Director Phillips.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Joe.
Yes, sir.
This question, I guess, from Ms. Long, since you said you are the voice, can you come back to the podium? And I just want to express publicly, I appreciate all of y'all showing up to that meeting, showing back up today, showing up 2 weeks ago. I wasn't here for the first time. I was out of town. But appreciate your commitment to this issue in your neighborhood. I attended that meeting, and when I left that meeting, and I'm being completely transparent with y'all as people I work for, when I left the meeting, I was ready to vote yes, because I thought we left the meeting with the consensus that there are issues that y'all are dealing with that we will address that are separate and apart from this actual development, whether it's a drainage issue, whether it's a fire issue, enter into the neighborhood. We talked about bonfires and those duplexes in the front. And I think when I left, I thought those were the issues that we needed to address, not the Riggs issue. So I left there thinking, hey, these folks, if we work with them on the issues that they're concerned about today, the Riggs issue is not the main issue for them. Did I understand the conversation correctly?
Mr. Phillips, I understood that to be a big part of the problem as well. But later after that meeting at the church, the neighborhood began to talk and speak, and they were like, we don't want it, because they're still unsure of, I know he's saying a lot of that 36 acres, I believe, will not be disturbed, but the little part that they will disturb, we're just wondering, and they don't know. It's the unknowns that has us kind of iffy about the whole thing. Will that still cause more flooding than what we already deal with? And still back to the traffic deal, because I know he keeps going back to Shackelford is going to be expanded. But what about, and I know he says, well, we're only going to have X amount of employees. It won't be enough to really make a difference, and the equipment would be brought in from the Shackelford way. But at some point, we believe that traffic is going to refer back to Highway 5, I believe it is. At some point, it's going to do it, and it's like the city or the county, I'm not sure whose hand it would be in at that point, to expand that highway for us, not just Shackelford.
And I left there with this conversation. So Highway 5 is the state highway. So the city of Little Rock, we don't have any control of that. I know Director Honeywell was at that meeting as well. He said he was going to reach out to the state to see.
And I had asked that if he could, to include me or CC me in any communication that he had with it. I never heard from him with that.
And we can get that to you. And I'm getting a head nod from Director Honeywell. Yes, and as it relates to, I'm talking to the group, but I know you're here. As I understood it from the flooding issue, from the conversation at the church, them creating a detention pond requires them to ensure that there's no increase in the flooding to anyone as a result of that property. So the flooding concern is addressed by the engineering issues, is my understanding from that meeting. And I just want to make sure that we all understand that before Antoine say yes or no to this. Is we getting some head nods or no? Not.
Like I said, I'm the voice, so I don't want to overspeak from.
Well, my understanding, and maybe, and if I can get Mr. White to come back up to talk about how detention ponds work, so we make sure that the neighbors understood what that means to their concerns about flooding.
And basically, we provide a detention pond so that when it rains, it fills up, and the water that comes out of it is released at the same amount as if it were still woods. We control that flooding, and I think Mr. Honeywell would love to hear from him on that as the engineer. But that's exactly how that works, and we do it all over town, and it's a requirement. It's in the ordinance, but we have to release the water during a storm event at the same rate as prior to development.
And for what they're concerned about, if I'm understanding them correctly, they're concerned that it will be an increase in flooding. So what's your response to an increase in flooding?
It will not be an increase in flooding.
Okay.
It will not. And again, their flooding is from Brody Creek, and it exists today. It's not from this. It's not going to be from this development, or will be no impact from this development.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. White.
You bet.
No, I think Director Wyrick is about to jump in there, so I'll defer to her.
Okay.
Director Wyrick.
Thank you, Mayor. I left our meeting the other night with the same impression that Director Phillips had, and that was that you had so many issues in your neighborhood that that nobody had addressed, nobody would work on the problems that you had. And so Director Phillips and Joan and myself were like little whirlwinds trying to find out, okay, what's going on with code enforcement? You know, what's going on with the drainage? What's going on with this traffic? All of the crime. So we all addressed different parts of that. You talked about fires being built down at the duplexes, and so we got the fire department involved in that. And I looked at the police reports to see what kind of police reports that you had. Talked to Bradley Jordan about code enforcement in regards to the duplexes at the front. John has written a letter to the highway department in regards to improving Highway 5. He's also got some folks that are going out and surveying the area for the water flows that are there. I don't know if he wants to talk about that, but that's kind of what our focus has been on since we left you Monday a week ago, was to try to address the issues that you had. I personally don't think that this development is going to create any more runoff or any more issues for you than what you have today. So that's what we have been working on and trying to focus on. We don't have all the answers today, but Antoine promised that we would have a meeting with you all, and we're looking at trying to meet at the end of September to address what we found and maybe some encouragement in your neighborhood. I've driven through there twice in the last week. You've got a lovely neighborhood, well-maintained yards. The homes are kept. The entrance needs some work. It really needs some work. And we're talking about what we can do with that. But anyway, I felt really bad in the fact that you all had been seeking help and you didn't get it. And Joan or I, neither one, knew that you had the issues that you had. So we're committed to try to make a difference in your neighborhood. So that's kind of what we were thinking about. Hopefully, we've done some work on the improvement district, looking at that as well. So hopefully this will be some help with you in the community.
Seeing no more, is your hand still up?
No.
Oh, yours up. Director Adcock?
Yes. As Director Wyrick and Director Phillips have said, we came from that meeting, we've made a list of 8 different areas that we heard you talking about you needed help with, and we have started things to do, helping you with all these 8 things. Also, I have here a new update on your improvement district that I got. And I've asked Mr. Carpenter to look at this and to give us some advice on how you can move forward on your improvement district. So we do have things that we do, no matter how this turns out tonight, that we do want to help you on. And you may have some other ones you want to add to this, but I would like to meet with you. We tried to set up a meeting last Friday, but we just couldn't get it set up. But I would like to meet with Tall Timber with this list to show you what we've got started already, what we want to do, and to give you the information on your improvement district. Thank you, and thank you all for coming tonight.
All right. We've now had 3 readings. All the questions have been heard. I think Mr. White was the last person to communicate. Oh, I guess Director Phillips.
Sorry, Mayor. After all those questions, Ms. Long, do you still have questions about this, or are you good now? I mean, all those statements, I should say, not questions. Yeah, come on.
There are still some questions that I'm getting. I wanted clarity for them before I ask them myself, but it's saying,
That's what I'm thinking.
the water is coming more from the vineyard up there. I guess that event deal where they get married is coming more from that way than from Brody Creek, is what I'm hearing and understanding. And what's the surety that we will hear more and this will get taken care of, Ms. Adcock, not just from this setting here, but what surety can you give us that we're not going to be forgotten about?
With the plan of how the city can help you with that. On the housing, John Jenkins has already been asked to do a code sweep of that area of tall timber, giving a lot of attention to the entrance. The fire department has been out there for probably the last 4 or 5 nights, looking at a fire that you talked about having in your area. Extra trash cans at the entrance. Those should have been picked up today, if not today, tomorrow. And they are going to talk to the people about putting them back. On the improvement district, Mr. Carpenter has looked at this letter that I received, and so has Mr. Phillips, and so has Ms. Wyrick. And we are all in agreement of moving ahead with this. And I think that takes care, the parking in the yards, that also was addressed, and also the white trucks are being investigated.
Okay.
And I'm not going to say any more about that one, because I think all of you in Tall Timber know what I'm talking about when I talk about white trucks and parking in the yards. So those things have already been started. I'll be happy to give you all the paperwork that I have here on them. And the 3 of us would be happy to set you a meeting up tonight if you'll give us a date and time that we can all agree upon.
I believe that's probably it.
That's probably what?
That's probably all.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Long. That's all I have, Mayor.
All right, members of the board, we've now heard from everyone. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, please say nay.
Present.
Ayes have it with 1 nay and 1 present. Now, is there a motion to go to executive session to discuss appointments? Members of Tall Timber, Director Adcock is asking you all to wait a few moments. Director Adcock is asking you all to wait a few moments. Yeah. Oh, here it is. Age-Friendly Commission, Raven Lewis and Carlina Jones. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Ambulance Authority, Mark Camp, Dr. Chuck Mason, Jamie Moss, and Greg Stubblefield. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Who? No, it's not.
What's the other one?
No, he's not. He's not. Yeah, we talking about something different. Yeah. Jamie Moss and Craig Stubblefield. All those in favor, please say aye. Animal Services, Dr. Bob Hale. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Board of Trustees of the Arkansas Museum of Fine Arts, Natalie Giagotti, George Macris III, Michelle Wiles. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Arts and Cultural Commission, Tamara Calamise and Sean Whitaker. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. City Beautiful Commission, Lee Cowan. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Commission of Children, Youth, and Families, Rose Seelig and Jasmine Zandy. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Community Housing Advisory Board, Dr. Rich Shoemate. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Historic District Commission, Chase Waters. All those in favor, please say aye. All those in favor, say nay. Ayes have it. Director Adcock, you can just stay right there. Little Rock Airport Commission, Bob Edwards. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Little Rock Advertising Promotion Commission, Pamela Smith. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Land Bank Commission, Karen Buchanan. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Let me ask you a question. You know, Karen Buchanan is on Metropolitan Housing Authority. That doesn't.
So because this is an identified seat of MHA on the land bank, so
Oh, it's their designated.
it's their designated seat, but we still have to confirm it.
Gotcha.
Little Rock Sustainability Commission, and great question. Carrie Brady, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All supposed to say nay. Ayes have it. Little Rock Zoo Board of Governors, Brian Cross, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All supposed to say nay. Ayes have it. Little Rock Water Reclamation Commission, Darrell Brown and Christina Clark, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Sister Cities Commission, Erica Barnes Field. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Little Rock Food Commission, Stephanie Walker Hines. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Kimberly Lee. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed say nay. Jennifer Owens Bowie. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. Vice Mayor Kathy Webb to serve in the city director role. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Did you vote president, director, vice? Yeah, all right. All right. A motion to adjourn.
So move.
Oh, yeah, we did airport. Yeah, yeah, we did.
Director Adcock has the.
Historic District Commission, Chase Waters, I believe. Yes. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Ayes have it.
Move to adjourn.
Yes, ma'am.